For our 10th anniversary, I planned a surprise trip. While packing my wife's bag, I found divorce papers and a plane ticket to another country. I said nothing, but when she arrived at the airport, she found me waiting with evidence that left her speechless. So I, 36M, have been married to Elaine, 34F, for almost exactly 10 years next week. Or I guess I should say I was married to her for 10 years, since that whole situation is pretty much nuked to hell now. Let me back up a bit. We met in community college, nothing fancy. I'm just a regular dude who's good with his hands and ended up working construction sites. Elaine's always been the ambitious one, got her degree, landed a job as an assistant to some hotshot marketing VP named Bobby. Always talking about this Bobby guy and how he was mentoring her. Yeah, mentoring. Should have seen that red flag from a mile away. For the past 8 months, I've been putting in crazy overtime and even sold my project car, a '67 Mustang I'd been restoring, to save up for what I thought would be the perfect 10-year anniversary surprise. A week-long trip to Puerto Rico. Elaine's always had this thing about beaches and tropical drinks, with those little umbrellas. She's mentioned Puerto Rico like 100 times over the years. I booked this insane beachfront place that was way above our normal budget. But hey, 10 years, right? That's worth celebrating. The first weird thing I noticed was about 3 months ago when Elaine started being super protective of her phone. Like, would literally take it to the bathroom with her. Who does that? But whatever. I figured maybe she was planning something for our anniversary too. Then came the late nights at work, the team-building weekend retreats, and the new clothes. Classic stuff you read about online, but never think will happen to you. So, last Saturday, Elaine mentioned she was heading to her sister Brinley's place for the day. Perfect timing. Gave me the chance to start packing her bag as part of the surprise. I had it all planned out. I'd pack her suitcase, then on Thursday morning I'd tell her we were going out for breakfast. But instead of IHOP, we'd end up at the airport with boarding passes in hand. The look on her face was gonna be epic. Well, turns out the look on my face was probably more memorable. I went into our bedroom closet, pulled out her blue suitcase from the top shelf, and started gathering her summer stuff. Swimsuits, sundresses, sandals, all that. When I went to grab her passport from the filing cabinet in our home office, I found a manila folder I'd never seen before sitting right on top of our important document. Something in my gut just knew. You ever get that feeling? Like your body figures it out before your brain does? Inside that folder were printed divorce papers, not signed yet, but all filled out with both our names, dated from a month ago. Next to it was a printout of a plane ticket confirmation, not to Puerto Rico, but to Cancun, for next Friday, literally the day after our anniversary. And here's the kicker. Another ticket right below it for Bobby Peterson. I sat there on our IKEA office chair that Elaine had insisted we buy because it was ergonomic or whatever, just staring at these papers like they were written in some alien language. My brain literally couldn't process what I was seeing for like 5 solid minutes. Then it hit me like a wrecking ball to the chest. She was planning to divorce me after I gave her 10 years of my life, after I worked 60-hour weeks to save for this surprise trip, after I sold my damn car. And not only that, she was planning to run off with her boss to freaking Cancun, the day after our anniversary. I'm not gonna lie, I lost it for a bit, punched a hole straight through our drywall. Not my proudest moment, but TBH, I'm surprised I didn't burn the whole house down. Then I just sat on our bedroom floor surrounded by her half-packed clothes and tried to breathe. That's when I found myself opening her nightstand drawer. Never really looked in there before. Always respected her privacy. Well, look where that got me. Inside was a small notebook. Started flipping through it and found entries about how alive Bobby makes her feel. How trapped she feels with me. How she's been settling all these years. 10 fucking years. The rage that came over me wasn't like anything I've ever felt before. It wasn't hot and explosive. It was cold, calculating, like my blood had turned to ice water. In that moment, I knew I wasn't just going to walk away from this marriage with my tail between my legs. No, Elaine and Bobby had no idea who they were messing with. I put everything back exactly how I found it. The divorce papers, the tickets, everything. Then I went into the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Knowledge is power, and right now, I had all of it. When Elaine came home that evening, I acted completely normal. Asked about her sister, talked about some random Netflix show, even sat through dinner smiling like an idiot, while she lied straight to my face about how excited she was for our anniversary. For the next few days, I played the role of oblivious, loving husband while documenting everything. Took photos of the divorce papers and tickets, checked our phone records, and took screenshots of all the late-night texts to Bobby. Found our credit card statements showing charges for hotels in town on nights she was supposedly working late. Even managed to get into her email where I found their dirty messages planning their little getaway. Each night, I'd lay next to her in bed, listening to her breathing, wondering how someone could lie so easily for so long. 10 years of my life. 10 years. By Wednesday, my plan was set. I canceled my Puerto Rico surprise, lost the deposit, but whatever, and booked myself on their Cancun flight. Yeah, the same exact flight. I also hired a PI to dig up dirt on Bobby, and let me tell you, that dude is not as squeaky clean as his Instagram makes him look. Now it's Thursday night. Tomorrow's our anniversary. Elaine thinks we're just going out for a nice dinner tomorrow night. Then she's flying out for an emergency work retreat on Saturday morning. What she doesn't know is that I'll be at that airport too, with copies of everything. I've never been the type for confrontation or drama. Always been the guy who fixes things, who compromises. Well, not this time. Tomorrow night I'll smile through dinner, tell her happy anniversary, maybe even give her the bracelet I bought months ago. Then, on Saturday morning, she'll get the surprise of her life. And trust me, Reddit, in part 2 of this story, you'll find out exactly how I turned their romantic getaway into a nightmare they'll never forget. Anyone else ever catch their spouse planning to leave them? Any advice for keeping my cool for just one more day? Because right now, I'm holding on to my sanity by a thread. Update coming soon. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Update. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my last post. Reading your messages helped keep me sane during what's been the most F***ed up week of my life. Some of you called me cold-blooded for not confronting Elaine right away. But trust me, the wait was worth it. So our anniversary dinner happened Friday night. I swear that was the hardest acting job of my life. We went to this steakhouse downtown where we had our first date. Elaine was all smiles, even got a little teary when I gave her that bracelet I mentioned. The whole time she's wearing this face, like she's so happy, while I'm sitting there knowing tomorrow she's planning to fly off with Bobby. The absolute audacity of this woman. When we got home, she even initiated sex for the first time in months. Probably guilt. I made an excuse about my stomach hurting from dinner. No way was I letting her touch me again. Spent the night on the couch pretending to watch ESPN while actually making my final preparations. Here's where I need to backtrack a bit and fill y'all in on what I'd been doing those 3 days between finding the divorce papers and our anniversary. First, I contacted my buddy Earl, who's a computer guy, not asking him to hack anything illegal, but just to help me recover some deleted texts from our shared iPad that Elaine sometimes used. Turns out she wasn't smart enough to permanently delete her iMessage history. Earl helped me pull everything, and I mean everything, going back 6 months. The screenshots alone were enough to make me sick. Then there was the money trail. I'm not stupid. I went through our joint accounts with a fine-tooth comb, found at least 7 hotel charges over the past 4 months at this Marriott downtown, always on Wednesdays when I had my bowling league, always room service for 2, always charged to our joint credit card. The real kicker? $2,000 withdrawn from our savings last month, the same exact amount as the deposit on their Cancun resort. Yeah, she was using our money to fund her little getaway with Bobby. But wait, there's more. Remember how I mentioned a PI? Well, worth every penny. This guy followed Bobby for just 2 days and got photos of him meeting up with Elaine during lunch breaks at a park. Nothing explicit, just them being way too close, holding hands, kissing. The PI also dug up some interesting info about Bobby's finances. Turns out Mr. Fancy Pants has serious money problems, 3 maxed-out credit cards, and a gambling issue. Guy's been hitting the online poker sites hard. So Saturday morning arrives, Elaine's all casual, telling me she's got this last-minute work thing in Houston, will be back Monday night, acting all normal while packing the same blue suitcase I had started packing for Puerto Rico. The sight of it made my blood boil all over again. I kissed her goodbye, told her to have a safe flight, then waited 15 minutes before grabbing my own bag and ordering an Uber. My flight was scheduled for 2 hours after hers, plenty of time for what I had planned. At the airport, I positioned myself near the security checkpoint with a clear view of their gate. Sat there drinking an overpriced coffee, watching the departure board, and waiting. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode out of my chest. Then I saw them. Bobby arrived first, checking his watch, looking around nervously. 10 minutes later, Elaine rolled up with her blue suitcase. They didn't immediately acknowledge each other, playing it cool in public, but I could see Elaine's eyes light up when she spotted him. I waited until they got in the security line together. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they'd gotten away with it. Then I walked up behind them, manila folder in hand, and tapped Elaine on the shoulder. Y'all should have seen her face. First confusion, then shock, then absolute terror when she realized what was happening. Bobby just stood there, looking like he was gonna throw up. I didn't make a scene, didn't raise my voice, just calmly suggested we step out of line to talk. The look on Elaine's face when she realized I knew everything was almost worth the pain of the past week. Almost. We moved over to some empty seats, and that's when I opened my folder. First came the divorce papers I'd found in her drawer. Next, printouts of their text messages, the explicit ones where they talked about their future together. Then the credit card statements, showing all those hotel charges, the bank withdrawal receipt matching their Cancun deposit, the PI photos of them together. With each page I laid down, Elaine's face got paler. Bobby started sweating through his fancy blue button-down. I just kept laying out evidence, piece by piece, like I was building a house. Foundation first, then the walls, then the roof, crushing down on them. But here's where my revenge really kicked in. While I'd been gathering all this evidence, I'd also been making some other moves. Remember how I mentioned transferring half our savings? Well, I did more than that. I pulled out documents showing I'd filed for divorce first, 2 days ago, with my lawyer citing her infidelity. In Texas, that matters. I'd already frozen our joint credit cards, changed the passwords on our shared accounts. And here's the kicker. I'd already contacted her sister Brinley and her parents with proof of the affair. That hit Elaine like a truck. Family means everything to her parents. They're old-school religious folks who see divorce as a major sin, and cheating unforgivable. Elaine started shaking, mascara running down her face. Then I turned to Bobby, told him I knew about his gambling debts, showed him screenshots of his online poker losses that my PI had somehow dug up, asked him if Elaine knew she was throwing away her marriage for a guy who couldn't even pay his own bills. The look they exchanged told me she definitely didn't. I finished by letting them know I'd be contacting their HR department on Monday, not as a threat, but as a courtesy heads-up that 2 of their employees had been conducting an inappropriate relationship using company time and possibly resources. Just doing my civic duty, you know? Neither of them said much. What could they say? The evidence was right there in black and white. 10 years of marriage burned to the ground, and all Elaine could manage was to ask if I was following them to Cancun. That's when I laughed. Actually, laughed out loud in the middle of the airport. Told them no. I wouldn't waste another minute of my life on either of them. Their tickets to paradise would now come with a complimentary side of reality. Bobby looked relieved for about 2 seconds before I mentioned that the PI would continue documenting their trip for my divorce case. I stood up, gathered my evidence, and started to walk away. That's when Elaine grabbed my arm. Mascara streaked all down her face, begging me to calm down and talk about this reasonably. Said we could work through this. Said it was just a mistake. Just a mistake? Planning to divorce your husband of 10 years and running off with another man is not forgetting to pay the electric bill. It's not burning dinner. It's a calculated betrayal that took months of lying straight to my face. I pulled my arm away and told her the only mistake was the day I said "I do" to someone capable of this level of deception. Then I walked out of the airport, leaving them both standing there with their ruined plans and the knowledge that their little secret wasn't so secret anymore. When I got home, I changed the locks, packed up most of Elaine's clothes, and put them in garbage bags on the front porch. Texted her that she had until Monday to collect her stuff before it went to Goodwill. It's Sunday night now as I'm typing this. The house feels empty, but not in a bad way. More like it's been cleared of something toxic. My phone's been blowing up with texts from Elaine, her sister, even Bobby. I haven't responded to any of them. What's left to say? The thing is, Reddit, I don't feel as satisfied as I thought I would. Don't get me wrong. Seeing their faces when they realized they were caught was everything I hoped for. But there's still this hollow feeling. 10 years, just gone. And for what? So Bobby could have a vacation fling with a woman willing to throw away her marriage? So Elaine could feel alive again? I keep thinking about what's next. Monday morning I meet with my lawyer to push the divorce forward. I'm keeping the house. My name's on the mortgage anyway since Elaine's credit was trash when we bought it. The joint accounts are mostly empty now, but I've got my own savings she can't touch. Part of me wonders if I went too nuclear. Another part thinks I didn't go far enough. Should I still contact their workplace, post the evidence on social media for all our friends to see, or just walk away and let them self-destruct on their own? Either way, I'm not taking her back. Some lines once crossed can't be uncrossed. I'll update again after the dust settles a bit more. For now, I'm gonna crack open another beer and try to remember who I was before I became half of Jack and Elaine. Update 2. What's up, Reddit fam? Lone Star Jack 35 here with the final update on my saga. Been exactly 6 months since the airport showdown, and boy, do I have some tea to spill. First off, thanks for all the DMs checking if I'm still alive. Sorry for ghosting y'all these past months. Needed to get my head straight and handle business without the temptation to rage post every time something new happened. Plus, my lawyer advised staying off social media during divorce proceeding. Smart man. So where to start? The day after the airport confrontation, I woke up to 47 texts and 23 missed calls. Elaine blowing up my phone like it was her full-time job. Most of the messages were the typical gaslighting BS. I was overreacting. It wasn't what it looked like. We could fix this, blah blah blah. The last few got desperate, saying she and Bobby never even boarded the flight and she was staying at her sister's place. Funny thing about that, Brinley called me that same morning. Turns out Elaine had lied to her too, claiming I was having some kind of mental breakdown and making up crazy stories. So I emailed Brinley the receipts, all of them, the hotel charges, the text screenshots, the photos, everything. Brinley went from defending her sister to dead silent in about 5 minutes flat. Family loyalty only stretches so far, I guess. The divorce moved faster than I expected. When you've got rock-solid proof of infidelity and your soon-to-be ex doesn't want their dirty laundry aired in court, things tend to speed up. My lawyer was a freaking bulldozer, got me the house, my full 401k, and split our other assets 60-40 in my favor. Texas ain't exactly a no-fault state when cheating's involved. Elaine didn't fight too hard. Think she was more concerned with damage control at that point. The judge wasn't exactly sympathetic to someone who used joint funds to finance a vacation with their affair partner. Who could have seen that coming? Asterisk shocked Pikachu face asterisk now for the real karma. There, Jubs. Remember how I mentioned contacting HR? Well, I did. Sent a very professional email explaining the situation and included just enough evidence to make my point without getting too graphic. Wasn't trying to be vindictive, just thought they should know 2 of their employees were potentially creating a hostile work environment. 2 weeks later, Bobby was pursuing other opportunities. That's corporate speak for "we showed him the door." Turns out the company had a strict policy about managers dating subordinates. Who knew? Elaine kept her job at first, but the whispers and side eyes eventually got to her. Last I heard from mutual friends, she resigned about 3 months ago. The financial fallout hit them both hard. Bobby's gambling issues weren't just a small problem. Dude was apparently in deep with online poker debts. Without his cushy salary, he started selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Saw his golf clubs and designer watches popping up one by one. Guess those credit card minimum payments don't make themselves. Elaine moved in with Bobby after the divorce finalized, but that situation lasted about as long as milk left on the counter. Their paradise romance crumbled faster than a sandcastle at high tide once real-life problems started piling up. From what her cousin told our mutual friend, they were fighting constantly about money. The stress of both their careers imploding plus Bobby's debt was too much for their true love to handle. Shocker. As for me, the first month was rough. NGL spent too many nights with Jack Daniels as my therapist. The house felt empty. Started sleeping on the couch because the bedroom had too many memories. My buddies, Earl and Julio, basically took shifts, making sure I didn't spiral, forcing me to hit the gym, dragging me to Texas Rangers games, anything to keep me moving forward. Around month 2, I started actual therapy. Found this no-nonsense older guy who specializes in divorce trauma. He didn't give me any of that "how does that make you feel" crap, just practical steps for rebuilding. Best money I've ever spent. By month 3, I was functioning again. Replaced our mattress and redecorated the bedroom. Painted the living room walls a dark blue instead of the beige Elaine had insisted on. Bought a massive TV for gaming nights with the boys. Started feeling like my house instead of our house. Month 4 brought an unexpected development. Was grabbing coffee at this local place when I noticed someone had left their AirPods on my table. Picked them up to turn in to the barista when this woman comes rushing back. Vicky, kindergarten teacher, Dimples. We ended up talking for 2 hours. Nothing romantic yet, just nice, like when you suddenly realize you've been hearing static for so long that clear sound feels strange. Now for the cherry on top of this revenge Sunday. Last week, I was at Target picking up some new sheets. Finally ditched the last set Elaine and I had bought together. Turned the corner into the home goods aisle, and there she was. Elaine. She looked rough. Not in a dramatic movie way, but in that subtle, real-life way when someone's struggling. Dark circles under her eyes, hair thrown up in a messy bun. Not the carefully styled, casual look she used to spend 45 minutes on. Wearing old leggings with a coffee stain on the thigh. For a second, we just stared at each other like we'd seen ghosts. Then she tried to smile. Asked how I was doing in that fake casual voice people use when they're dying inside. I kept it short. Good. Busy. Works fine. The awkward small talk of strangers who used to share everything. Then she dropped the bomb. Asked if I could spot her some cash until payday. Not a lot. Just enough for groceries. Said Bobby had moved out 3 weeks ago. Ghosted her completely. Took what was left in their joint account and split. Apparently, he'd been talking to some woman from his gambling site. Decided to try his luck in Vegas with her instead. I stood there holding my Egyptian cotton sheets, while this woman, my wife of 10 years, the person I once thought I'd grow old with, was basically asking for a handout. Part of me wanted to laugh in her face. A bigger part wanted to ask how it felt to be the one blindsided and abandoned. Instead, I just checked the time on my Apple Watch, the one I bought myself as a divorce present, and told her I had to go, meeting someone for dinner. The look on her face when she realized I wasn't going to rescue her was worth more than any screaming match or told you so speech. As I walked away, she called after me, asking if we could grab coffee sometime. Maybe talk about things now that emotions had settled. Said she'd made a terrible mistake and missed our life together. I just kept walking. Some bridges don't just burn, they get demolished, foundations and all. So here I am, 6 months later. House is finally feeling like home again. Started rebuilding my project car with the money that would have gone to Puerto Rico. Having dinner with Vicky later tonight. Our 5th date. Taking it slow, being honest about my baggage. Meanwhile, Elaine's living in a studio apartment, working at a mall kiosk. according to her Instagram, which I definitely don't check anymore. Bobby's somewhere in Vegas, probably losing what's left of his money. And I'm finally sleeping through the night again. Revenge isn't about big dramatic gestures. Sometimes it's just stepping back and letting karma do its thing while you rebuild your life into something better than they could ever take from you. That's all for now, Reddit. Thanks for riding this roller coaster with me. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that you never really know someone completely. But more importantly, you never really know how strong you are until being strong is the only option you've got.